I went back to Football Manager 2024 a couple of weeks ago. Honestly, I have gotten myself hooked on Football Manager once again. After leaving the disaster that is FM26, I'm starting to remember why I love this game so much. But there are still a couple of things that really drive me nuts. And actually on this list, I'm not talking about stuff like own goals and player mistakes or really anything that involves like the game on the field. Now, I'm talking about the real stuff that has driven me nuts about Football Manager for quite a while. I'm talking like years. Now, by the way, if you enjoy these videos, please remember that I don't have any sponsors. So if you want to see this stuff continue, please consider supporting me. Please consider becoming a paying member here on YouTube. For $5 a month, you'll get access to new videos like this one as soon as I'm done with them. I try to make them available a week or so before they're officially released. Alternatively, you can support me on Patreon, where you can also get access to my vast collection of sport-related media files. And these files are going to include all of my Football Manager saves just as soon as I get them uploaded. It should be pretty soon. Then you guys can play along with me, or you can go check out stuff I was doing before and you can like fix it or whatever you want to do. Anyway, you guys know as well as I do that I dunk on Football Manager 26 all the time. But the thing is that there are other problems with the Football Manager series that are not unique to FM26. I mean, even when I try to quickly go through my seasons, there's always some sort of frustrating thing that comes up. I do what I can to play quickly, but I guess I spend too much time caring about my save to be really efficient. Even when I've automated most of the boring and time-wasting stuff, it still feels like it takes an eternity to go through a single season. Anyway, so I've decided to make this list of the top 10 most frustrating things about the Football Manager series. Once again, you guys need to know that these are not unique to FM26 or even FM24 for that matter. I'm pretty sure that most of you can relate to at least some of these, so let's just get going. Number 10 is the ridiculous number of meetings the game wants you to attend. Now, fortunately, you can skip a lot of these staff meetings. But these come up way too frequently, and it can be really frustrating and time-consuming unless you know a couple of tricks to get rid of them completely. The worst part about all of this is that the addition of all of these extra meetings is actually a new feature in Football Manager. In fact, almost everything on this list is a recent addition or feature. If you go back far enough, you will notice that there were never all of these extra meetings. And I mean, I have no idea like what moron at Sports Interactive thought this was a good idea, even though I think I have an idea on who had the final say about all of this. If you go back to something like Football Manager 2006, you will notice that you can make quite a bit of progress in the game without having a ton of meetings or even a ton of inbox messages. The game was really designed to get you into playing the game as quickly as possible rather than wasting your time with a bunch of stupid meetings. If you had questions about how the game works, you could use the help files instead of having the game prompt you for introduction sessions over and over again. And seriously, the original design of Championship Manager and Football Manager was to reward you for being curious, not to just shove stuff down your throat. So fortunately, we can skip a lot of these stupid, useless meetings, but it's pretty clear that modern Football Manager was designed by somebody who was really accustomed to modern corporate life. You spend way too much time in meetings, and it really sucks the soul out of everything. But the excessive number of meetings is nowhere near as bad as the collapse of the 2D graphics engine, which is next on our list. Back in the good old days, the 2D match graphics engine looked like this. While it's not perfect, I've always felt that this graphical approach made it a lot easier to see where the players were playing and what my match tactics were like. When I went back to play FM17 again and started playing this way, I remembered exactly why I fell in love with Football Manager in the first place. And I really recommend going back if you haven't yet. You see, the problem is that Sports Interactive decided to get rid of that famous 2D classic view way back in FM 2018. And honestly, I'm not sure that I understand why. It seems that Sports Interactive was hoping to put more of an emphasis on developing its 3D graphics, or at least that's what the company said at the time. And by the way, he was offside. Back in October 2017, the official word from Sports Interactive was that the 2D Classic mode was somehow holding the game back. I'm not sure how accurate that claim is, but all I know is that this view looked very good and was extremely well developed. However, it was replaced by this monstrosity. Honestly, the beginning of Football Manager's graphical issues started with the graphics engine shift in FM 2018. This is where the new gen faces started to look ridiculous, the stadiums looked a lot worse, the pitches looked horrible, the players even looked worse, and this is where we saw the beginning of that really, really bizarre shift and decision to turn everything to purple, but there's going to be more on that later. Anyway, the 2D view really has never recovered. Again, this is what the 2D Classic view looked like at its height. This is back in FM 2017. In contrast, this is what it looks like in FM 24. And honestly, I see this as a big step back from where things once were. And I'm not sure that I should even mention how ridiculously bad the 2D view is in FM 26. This is an absolute disgrace. So I know that the 3D view looks better for content creators and YouTube videos and like screenshots and stuff like that, but I still fail to understand why the classic 2D graphics engine absolutely had to go. This strikes me as extremely poor management, and it's a major black mark against the company. And I've only got this all the way up at number 9 on this list because of all the other ridiculous things that Sports Interactive has introduced to this series. Number 8 is this baby, the Squad Planner. The Squad Planner was originally introduced in FM 2023 as a tool to help you out with your save. Frankly, I never use it. The problem with the Squad Planner is that it's just fundamentally broken. It's still broken today. It resets all of the sorting work that you've done as soon as you put like a player on your shortlist. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And honestly, it does a really bad job of doing the one thing that it's supposed to help you do, which is planning. When I go through my squad at the beginning of my save, I prefer to go through each player one by one. Sure, it takes some time, but this helps me get to know who they are and helps me plan my strategy for the save. Instead of using the squad planner, I take notes in a separate document, which gives me the freedom to remind myself what my plan is with each player. Believe it or not, I've actually found it faster and more efficient to do this by hand than to mess with that stupid squad planner. Now, the worst part of the Squad Planner is that nobody in the community was asking for the feature. It's the sort of thing that Sports Interactive did because it could do it, not because there was actually demand for it. I suspect that the corporate overlords over at Sega were probably hoping that there would be something new in whatever FM it was that this came out in, like FM 23, and so they put a lot of pressure on Football Manager to like get this done, and it's been nothing short of a disappointment. Personally, I never use it. I always just write stuff down in a document. It's easier for me to remember that way and to get to know my players that way. I'm also always really surprised at those of you who do use the Squad Planner. I think life is a lot better without it. Anyway, number 7 on this list is a problem that I know that we all have run into. As you can see here, I've managed to get our club a huge balance. And so I asked the board for an increase in junior coaching budget since I'm doing the Youth Academy Challenge. Instead of being reasonable and at least, considering the request since we're rich, the board decided to reject it outright. And the board's reasoning is that we already have a lot of young players at the club. Which makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. I mean, if the players are good enough, just say that they're good enough, right? Having a lot of players doesn't mean anything about the quality of players. That should be obvious. It drives me nuts because this happens all the freaking time. Now, as you might know, you can actually change this in the pregame editor by editing your chairman. But if you're going to do that, you might as well just give yourself the best youth ratings possible anyway. What I would much rather see is a board that actually is reasonable to work with depending on the situation that your club is actually in. Instead, what we get is a board that is extremely stubborn for no good reason. So is this realistic? Well, I don't know, maybe. But you've got to realize that Football Manager is more of an RPG than an actual simulation. I don't care what the boards do in real life, and it's stupid to try to emulate that. You need to make a game that's playable and is interesting to play. I want the board to act realistically in the light of circumstances that are in the game, and it fails at this over and over again. I mean, at least sometimes you can talk the board into taking a reasonable offer for a player that you don't want. But it's ridiculous that you have to do this over and over again. Football Manager has a major problem with too many meetings, and the board is way too eager to stop you from doing the things that you really need to do. And you cannot turn it off, right? You see, in a game like OTP, you've got similar ridiculous things that come up, right? Your owner will tell you that they want to get an all-star at like this position, even if you've already got one, right? It's really stupid. But at least in OTP, you can turn the stupid owner off and like play the game the way you actually want to play it. Now, if the board weren't bad enough, you've also got to deal with the freaking players, and they can be even worse. Part of this problem comes with player injuries, and I mean, here he just fell down by himself. The last thing you want to do in a crucial cup match is to have to take a star player out. Of course, it's not a huge deal if you lose only one player since you've got his replacement, but the game just loves to injure the replacement right afterwards, which can really be frustrating. So I don't know, maybe we're supposed to go like 3 or 4 deep at every position or something like that. I don't know. But the real problem is not when the players get physically hurt. No, it's that they get emotionally hurt, emotional damage. We had a winning streak going and we somehow made it to the top of the league. Both the board and the supporters considered my job untouchable and I was flying high. A bunch of big-name clubs went in for Talles Magno, our star winger, but of course I'm not going to sell him. And then what happens? Our star gets upset because I won't sell him to freaking Spurs. I mean, come on, man. Whose side are you on anyway? Why can't I just tell him to shut up and focus on winning, right? Why does he have to throw a fit like this? Can't we get rid of this in the game? It really annoys me. Anyway, you meet with him, but there's nothing you can say to change his mind. He's going to be mad no matter what. Next thing you know, a bunch of first-team players are upset with you as well because they want to see our star leave. Anyway, there's nothing you can do in this meeting either. Though at least in the end, I was able to convince that random new gen that it's going to be okay. It totally sucks. Yeah, I know it's realistic, except it's not really realistic, right? We're winning and winning. This guy's going to want to stay here, not to go over to Spurs to sit on the bench forever. You see, the trick to getting through all of this in the end is to just do nothing at all. Don't sell the player. And the reason why is because it has been demonstrated time and time again that poor morale is not as important as this game makes you think. Honestly, the best way to prevent a morale problem from spreading is to not acknowledge it at all. Anyway, I decided to leave him in to play our next match and pretend that he's not upset. We lost in the end, but we came really close to a last-second equalizer on this corner. A week later, we played the second leg of this knockout round, but this time we had home field advantage. And well, what do you know, our crybaby wound up being gifted a free goal, which he scored easily. We had to wait for extra time, but we wound up winning anyway, so who cares about poor morale? Now, I know that some of you have sworn to me that you've had saves that have been ruined by player morale. I've seen your comments. But seriously, honestly, based on my experience, this is likely because you have overreacted to player morale issues. I know because I've done this before. In my experience, the best way to deal with morale problems is to just ignore them. I don't feel sorry in the slightest, and we are still in first place. Thank you very much. Speaking of gripes, my next gripe is about Football Manager's awful training system. It just doesn't work out of the box, and the easiest way around it is to change everything to all rest. But I mean, it just feels totally ridiculous to do this over and over. So this new training system came on board for Football Manager 2019. Honestly, it's always been broken. The training options just simply do not do what they tell you that they do. The best way to take advantage of this system is to do absolutely no training at all and instead have your players intensively meditate on quickness. This will turn them into pace and acceleration warriors within like 2 seasons. When Sports Interactive announced this system in September 2018, it made a huge deal out of having access to the actual training systems of various clubs. It's hilarious that they say this because I can't think of a single club in the whole world that has this kind of daily training setup. While the old training system wasn't as customizable, it was just fine for what it needed to do, and you really don't need to have that much control over every day's training. Actually, 20-year-old games like NFL 2K5 have much better and more realistic training arrangements, though this is way too in the weeds for my taste. I mean, it's fine for Sports Interactive to come up with like a new training system or whatever, but don't give me this garbage about it being ultra realistic when it's clearly something that somebody on the staff just slapped together at the last minute. And I'm serious about that. This comes off as being really lazy and really poorly done. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. Now, if you want training to, actually work right, you need to head on over to FM Match Lab. The FM Match Lab training mod actually fixes Football Manager's training system, and it's hilarious to me that Sports Interactive staff still have not been able to figure this one out. This system actually makes the game harder since it means the computer manager can finally set its own training schedule up correctly. So at least this problem can be fixed, right? But seriously, Sports Interactive took a training system that worked perfectly well and decided to screw it up for no reason at all. That is not a good sign. And then you've got examples of Sports Interactive adding in completely useless staff positions. There are 3 useless positions, and we might as well start out with the loan manager. As FM Inside tells us here, the loan manager was introduced in Football Manager 2020, and it was another one of those additions that nobody asked for. I guess the idea is that he's supposed to help you keep track of your players on loan in case you've got like 30 or 40 out at one time. In theory, he's supposed to give you this weekly loan roundup, and geez, the purple in this user interface is just totally butt ugly. Anyway, you don't need the loan manager. The weekly loan roundup is completely useless. You won't even read it. It's just another stupid email in the stupid email inbox that's too full anyway. Plus, if you fire the loan manager, you still get the roundup, and the game will still do all the things that the loan manager supposedly did, right? All he does is he just sucks up salary. Your first step in every new save should always be to fire the stupid loan manager because they do nothing. He's completely useless. Next is the technical director, and guess what? He's also useless. The technical director is supposed to help you sign staff. That's right, you've got a staff member who is supposed to give you more staff members, like he's some sort of parasite or some leech that's growing in your club. I guess he's supposed to give you feedback on your staff or something. The reality is that he does absolutely nothing. The problem with this FM Inside argument for having a technical director on every team is that the game can be set up to do this for you automatically without having the staff member. I always make the chairman do the technical director's job. Then we have one less person to pay on the staff. Maybe the chairman hires staff that are like a little bit worse, but I'm going to tell you a secret. The secret is that it doesn't matter how good or how bad your coaches are, or like your physio is, or your sports scientist or whatever. The difference in Football Manager between good and bad staff members is so small and marginal that you might as well not waste any more time with it. Anyway, the last and the worst of all is, of course, the director of football. Hiring a director of football is 100% pointless. His job would be to hire and fire players, which is literally what your job is. It's not only difficult to see the benefit of this position, but the truth is that there is no benefit of having him at all. Unless, of course, you want to do one of these director of football challenge saves. You know, these are the kind of saves where like the director of football does all of the transfers and you end up doing nothing. Except what you will discover, as everybody else has discovered, is that your director of football is incapable of putting together an actual squad. This is true even if you have like the best director of football all time with all perfect attributes, right? The position is just an absolute waste. In fact, all 3 of these staff positions are just wastes of time since the game will perform all of these duties for you automatically even if there's nobody in those positions. And so we get questions on forums like this. Does the technical director actually sign staff? The answer is no, he doesn't. The feature is just broken. What does the loan manager actually do? Yeah, what does he do? He rejects the loan offers. And by the way, this has been my exact experience in Football Manager for years now. Any point in having a director of football? Yeah, to renew staff member contracts. But you don't need him to do that. You can assign that task to your chairman, who you're always going to have. I recommend just doing that and forgetting about it because it's a waste of time. These 3 positions are absolutely useless. Now you have to make sure that if you're delegating everything to the chairman, that you make sure that he can't sign a new loan manager or technical director or whatever. You don't want them to do that. You want the chairman to do all of the grunt work. The funny thing is that he will never push back on you, which is what would happen in real life, right? Anyway, Football Manager has been going downhill since FM 2017, which was released a decade ago, and we're not even done with this list yet. Number 3 on this list is the endless emails that always come in. You see, the problem is that Football Manager is actually a role-playing game, but it's a role-playing game where you don't actually go anywhere. Since the people at Sports Interactive are stuck in their offices all day listening to Miles Jacobson rant about the clouds, they apparently can't imagine a life that is not dictated by email. And honestly, the email part of this game really, really, really sucks. There's way too much of this, right? So what? Need a staff meeting? Well, here's an email. Is this player upset? Here's an email. Is the board about to fire you because you sold all the good players and you're in last place, which might have happened to me? Yeah, here's an email. We all get enough emails as it is at our stupid modern jobs. Do we need to have this much email in our freaking football spreadsheet game? Now, this has been a problem for a while, I'll admit that, but FM 2017 wasn't quite as bad, mostly because you didn't have so many stupid emails about staff issues coming in. And if you go back to something like Championship Manager 4, you will notice that you don't get anywhere near as many emails as you get today. This email plague is the cancer that is killing Football Manager. Every new version of this game is more focused on the inbox than the last. And it's funny because SI has said over and over again over the years that, oh, this time we're going to make it less focused on the inbox. We're going to give you more freedom. It's been saying this for over a decade now. This has never happened. And instead, we have more and more of this sort of corporate attention to the way that these awful, soulless, and worthless corporate jobs actually work. And the thing is that you will never want to hire anybody in game because any personnel decision that you make, it means triggering a whole new set of like emails and all this other crap. I mean, there's got to be some better way to push the story along than having me check my freaking email all day, right? Or am I supposed to believe that modern football managers spend all of their day looking at their massive inbox on their computer or like iPhone or something? And how many freaking emails do I need for training reports, under 19 coaches assignments, and other useless tasks? So I challenge Sports Interactive, please come up with a way in FM27 to reduce the emails by 50%. There's got to be a way to do it. Most of the stuff that I get in my inbox in-game is 100% useless. It's just as useless as the stupid spam emails I receive in my personal email inbox in real life. Let us focus on the game and stop shoving the garbage down our throats. Anyway, number 2 on this list is another one that I know that you're all familiar with, and I always skip this in my saves. Number 2 on this list is clearly the press conference. This is a good idea that is done very, very poorly. Sure, if you won, you can read all of the questions, you can read all the responses, you can see if you can figure something out. But I'm going to be really blunt with you, this is a waste of your time. I'll be honest with you, press conferences in Football Manager would be absolutely great if they were done correctly. I mean, you could really use this to move along the internal storyline of the game. Football Manager tries to do this, but it fails miserably. There are way too many questions about players not on your team, things that you're not thinking about at all, teams and leagues you don't care about, and these endless repetitive questions that keep coming up over and over again. It drives you nuts. Anyway, these crappy press conferences have been a thing in this game for over a decade now. You can handle them if you won. All you need to do is choose the second choice from the left and you will always win. Of course, if you choose the wrong thing, you will make your players upset, which goes back to the stupid player morale issues that I mentioned earlier, you know, the emotional damage. Seriously, your best option is to just let the assistant manager do all the press conferences and you just forget about them. They are all a total 100% waste of your time. They are not immersive in the slightest. This is a poorly designed feature that Sports Interactive honestly should really just get rid of at this point. If they're not going to do it right, let's just not do it at all. It's a total waste of time. It's one of the few things in Football Manager that makes me feel less likely to want to keep playing the game. Fortunately, you can always delegate all the press conference responsibilities away as soon as your save starts. Even still, you will occasionally get questions from the press straight to your inbox, which is really stupid and annoying. And you'll read about how upset the press is with you if you decline the first press conference. Look, if you really want me to do the stupid press conferences in this game, you've got to make it worth my while. Sports Interactive has failed at this for decades now. It's not getting any better. If you skip over them, it doesn't matter. There's like no bad thing that happens to you. The worst is that if you're on like a journeyman save and you have another interview for another job, they're like, well, I see you don't do your press conferences. And then you just click whatever stupid response it is and then they don't care, right? Anyway, this game needs a new direction on press conferences. Instead of having the press try to like dictate the whole season to you, it should be reacting to how your team's actually doing. It really should be more like the frosting on the cake of Football Manager, but they're trying to turn it into the cake itself. Anyway, the number 1 problem is something that has been a problem for a long time now, but has gained a lot of prominence recently. I don't need to say much about the awful user interface in FM26. This was clearly programmed through AI vibe coding and it is an utter failure. People should lose their jobs for the awful things that they did to this great franchise. But truth be told, the user interface has been a huge problem in Football Manager for a long time now. They were trying to fix it in FM26. And some of these ideas weren't that bad, but the problem is that they decided to use AI vibe coding, which wound up breaking everything. One thing that surprised me about playing FM 2006 again is just how easy it was to find everything. Even though it had been almost 20 years since I last played this game, I was still able to find everything that I needed right away. And when you know where you need to go, it is a lot easier to get immersed in the actual game instead of fighting against the user interface. They really could have stuck with that old format. I mean, it looked nice and it worked well, and it still works well today. Go back and play FM 2006, assuming you can get it to work in your computer. They changed all of this at some point in time, and that's when the game started to suck. I mean, I like FM 2017, and it was kind of easy to find things, but FM 2006 was a lot better. I don't know why they decided to stick the menus all on the left side, but it was a pretty stupid decision. But hey, at least the default skin in FM 2017 is not like a total eyesore. So for some reason, Sports Interactive decided to go with purple. It looks like this started in FM 2019 from what I can tell, and it's still going on. My only question is why? Seriously, somebody in Sports Interactive in their boardroom sat down and figured that purple was the way to go. I only have one question. Why? It looks ugly. It's a total eyesore. And since you can't have skins in FM 26 because they don't know what they're doing, it looks like we're stuck with that stupid purple for the long haul. And no, it doesn't get any better even if you put in the 20 hours like Miles Jacobson promised us. Anyway, there you go. There's the top 10 reasons, the top 10 things that really suck about this game. I had to stick the user interface in number 1 because of how it's basically destroyed the series. Football Manager was actually once a great game, but it has fallen very, very low. But there is still hope, at least I guess. Anyway, if you hate FM 26 as much as I do, just go back and play one of the earlier versions. You'll find that the further back you go, the better your experience is going to be. You will still run into a lot of these stupid issues, especially if you're playing FM 18 through FM 24, but at least it's not going to totally suck the way that FM 26 sucks. And I mean, I don't know, maybe things will be better in FM 27. Honestly though, I doubt it.